Greetings, everyone. My name is Tony Breitbach. I am the co-facilitator of the Interprofessional Global Communications team, and it is my very good pleasure to invite you and welcome you all to today's Global Cafe. The name of today's Global Cafe is Scrutinizing a Proposed Framework Underpinned by Empirical Findings to Help Integrate IPE into Curricula. Our presenters are Susanne Lindqvist from the University of East Anglia, and Atle Ødegård from Molde University in Norway. So we're really excited about this presentation. Let me tell you a little something about our presenters. Susanne is a professor in interprofessional practice at the University of East Anglia in the United Kingdom, visiting professor at Molde University College in Norway. She has been involved in the field of interprofessional learning and working since 2002, and is a director of the Center for Interprofessional Practice at UEA. Her interest is around introduction and continuation of authentic, meaningful, and sustainable interprofessional education from the outset, and how learning can effectively translate into better working relationships within and across teams for the benefit of learners, staffs, and patients. Susanne is actively supporting the work of the UK Centre for Advancement of Interprofessional Education, CAPE, and Interprofessional Global, and currently in the process of embedding IPE in the curricula at UEA using empirical evidence from a study completed in close collaborations with the colleagues at Molde, and actually that's what this presentation is about. Atle is a clinical psychologist and professor of interprofessional collaboration at Molde. His research interests center around interprofessional collaboration in both practice and education, as well as the development of new research methods within those areas. Recently, he has focused on the use of service design to improve interprofessional collaboration within the public sector. Atle has also been involved in the research related to challenges faced by young people in social housing, as well as research in the field of criminal justice. So I will let you share your presentation and take it from here. Welcome.
Thank you. We'll see if this one works then. We did try it earlier and to see if this one works. So yes, thank you very much, Tony. That's very kind of you. And Atle, I did think that you and I thought it was half an hour and we were two presentations, but actually we are only us, which means that we have a little bit longer, which is very good. We might not need all hour, but still it's helpful to know going forward. So yeah, this is the title of our talk, which Tony has already said, and he has kindly introduced us, so we don't need to do that. But going to us, we've also mentioned that we live in countries, Atle in Norway, where NIPNET is one of the interprofessional education networks, and I live in the UK, where we have CAPE. And so they are sponsoring and supporting this talk. So when it comes to why we wanted to do that, many of us on the call, and including myself and Atle, many universities do struggle to fully embed interprofessional education, and even if they manage to do it, depending on leadership and so on, sometimes it goes in waves, it disappears a little bit and comes back. And we set out to do a study quite a long time ago, where we decided in 3 universities in Norway and England to look a little bit about how university teachers feel that they are involved and responsible for learning outcomes linked to interprofessional learning. And so we did that study. We presented the findings in 2018, and this was 2 universities in Norway and 1 university in England, my own. And it was clear there that some teachers felt that they weren't sure that the efforts would be worth it. They were a little bit skeptical as to whether every effort that they had done translated into practice, where perhaps there weren't the role models that were needed to consolidate the learning into real collaborative efficiencies and practice that then could impact positively on patients. And there were also some other questions raised from that study that led us to go into a new phase. And we set out to create or co-create through social innovation, which is to innovate, produce something new that supports teachers to engage in interprofessional education through a framework. And we wanted to build that framework with empirical evidence so that the words, if you like, or expressions on the framework were truly underpinned by things that our teachers and leaders had said. So this is what we set out to do. And I'll hand over to Atle, who will talk to you a little bit about the aims.
Yes, I will do that. We wanted to identify main factors of the framework for integration of IPE that resonates with stakeholders by conducting a survey with educators involved in interprofessional education, mainly based in the UK and Norway. And next, we wanted to conduct an in-depth investigation of perspectives expressed by university instructors or teachers in our previous study, as informed by the survey findings. And the purpose of this investigation was to develop a framework, as Susanne said, based on the experiences and the reflections of the educators and senior leaders at the 3 universities that participated in the original study from 2018. And the next picture, Susanne. So we did this over time, and as you can see from this model, we used the mixed methods design, so-called sequential design, where we used first the qualitative study, and then we did the survey, the quantitative study, and then finally this qualitative study. First, the Lindqvist et al. Publication from 2018, was based on focus groups, group interviews, and this informed partly the survey. I'll come back to that. And then we did individual interviews, and these 3 sub-studies are actually the empirical studies that inform the development of the framework. So as you can see on the right side there, we have results from all of them, but we try to make a synthesis of this, making the framework. And then you can take the next pictures. Next picture. Yes, here you can see also that I have a little problem because I see you, Susanne, in the middle of the.
Oh, I can try and get. Can I get rid of myself then?
Can you change your background? I think you need to change your background. Let's just take one quick second. Can you do that?
Yeah. Don't get rid of yourself though, Susanne. That's not good.
Yeah.
No, but
not sure.
Now we
see if you just change your background, if you go into your background in your video settings.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not like blur my background. No.
Well, we'll
yeah,
in the back
see,
of
I'm
your
not
head.
that good.
Right,
So
you can tell
trust
this
them.
is
There's
not
something behind Suzanne's head that
if you tilt a little bit to the left.
like I just
that's
go.
That's it. Now we go.
Good.
As you can see on the left side, we have 2 publications actually informing the survey, and I just wanted to say a little bit about the conceptual figure that we used. That's the starting point for making this survey. And we first used the original study from 2018. And we also used a survey that I developed in 2006 called the Perceptional Interprofessional Collaboration Model. And the circles that you see on this picture are actually the more conceptual part of this. As you can see, the perception of interprofessional learning is divided into 3 levels: individual aspects, group aspects, and organizational aspects. And we also had some questions from demographic variables. On the right side, you can see how we organize the items in this survey on the 3 levels. You have the leadership. We had 4 levels. For example, for IPL to work, leaders must help create space or opportunities for this type of education. So that was just one example. And we also had the implementation that goes for the delivery by teachers. For example, one item was interprofessional learning is well described in our course outlines. On the group level, we had 2 aspects, professional power and socialization or role. And for example, on role, we had an item like, I think students should be supervised by teachers from their own profession. And finally, on individual aspects, we had IPL competence and value of interprofessional learning. And for example, one item was, I think that I need more knowledge about interprofessional learning. And finally, we had 4 items on the outcomes. And this together, we had approximately 200 participants in this survey. And it gave us quite a lot of information, and we are publishing this these days. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Atle. And I'm sorry for my head there poking up in the corner. I can't get rid of it now. So you just have to live with it for a little while longer there. So yes, so this is what we came up with. So this is our framework, and this is what we will publish. And when we sat with this, we have now 4 different themes or frames or pillars or whatever we'll call it in the end. And so we want us to think about 4 P's: priority, professional value, professional commitment, and person-centeredness. And looking at each one of those, we go into the first one, thinking about priority. The teachers and the leaders emphasized to us throughout these studies that it is about the organizational commitment, thinking about our universities at top level, having that clear vision about IPE for that organization in the context of the wider system and the need in wherever you live. For us in the UK and England, but that could be anywhere in the world. And professional value, they told us about the identity co-creation, and that would be for the students, but also for professionals, and in terms of what we value as uni professions separately and collaboratively when we're working as a team. So they emphasize the interprofessional collaboration between students, between teachers, professions, that role models inside the organization, outside the organization. And the third professional commitment was about the learning outcomes, interprofessional learning outcomes, but also thinking about learning outcomes that already exist, that could perhaps be tweaked, if you like, to become interprofessional in nature. And then the competence, every student would graduate from our universities being competent, but this is going beyond thinking about competence in the context of interprofessional competence as part of interprofessional teams. And person-centeredness, thinking about engagement by students, by our service users, experienced by experienced patients, whatever we refer to them in where we work, engagement of staff, engagement of our leaders, and a real shared responsibility for everyone. And so these are the ones that came out from the study, and sometimes when we read papers we might see these as 4 themes, if you like, and these sub-themes, but these are then across the studies as Atle has already spoken about. So when we were sitting with this, and we are currently writing up the paper about this last, if you like, piece of the interprofessional framework. And I was going to try and move myself here so I could read it now. See here. I am familiar with another 4P model that was presented by Bridges and Mitchell back in 2000. And this is a framework which I use in my university a lot of the time when we want to lead a project or thinking about strategy and doing a big piece of change. And the 4P model, I felt, might lend itself to translating this framework into something that we can remember. So I proposed that to my Norwegian colleagues, and we are currently deciding if this is where we want to go, and this is what we would like to talk to you about here today as well. So for those 4 Ps presented by Bridges and Mitchell, you're looking about the purpose, asking yourself, why are we doing it? What's the purpose of it? If there is no purpose, why would we bother, if you like? And the picture is about, at your university, at our organization, what is it that we are looking to do? And then it's the plan for how we would get there, and the participation. Who do we need to be on board, when, and how we will engage them? And so for each of the Bridges and Mitchell's 4 Ps, we aligned our 4 Ps, and in our paper that we are writing at the moment, we would flesh that out, if you like. So this won't be presented here today, but we wanted to let you know that this was our thinking, that we would go through each of these pieces, if you like, to make sense of it, back up with our empirical data, but also link it to existing literature out there. And we are very aware that there is a plethora of frameworks out there, yet we who are involved in IPE still know that sometimes frameworks are very theoretical, and when you are to use them, it's sometimes not very easy to know how to apply it in actual practice. And we wanted something that is easy to remember, but also easy to show our teacher colleagues that this, and the leaders, that this was created for in the first instance, to help them integrate IPE, or for us on this call that has been part of this study to actually reintegrate IPE, because it was kind of quite integrated, and then some of it went, and now we need to kind of get it back again. So this is where we are at today, and this cafe for us was an opportunity to think about your immediate thoughts. And so for you here on the call, perhaps we can, I will stop sharing in a little while, so we can maybe go back to a slide if you want to, or if you want to make a note of the questions. We would like to know your immediate thoughts about what we have presented with our study, on the framework itself, if you feel that it was a good idea to link it to Bridges and Mitchell's 4P model, and also what you felt was new about it, and frameworks that is already existing out there that you feel it's important to discuss in this context as we write up the paper itself. So Tony, I can see your hand up.
Yes, I very good talk. Some very good work. I think your 4 Ps definitely has some merit. I think one of the things that we're starting to explore, because we have kind of a new interprofessional education model here at St. Louis University, is we're looking at kind of the issue of meta perception. of our graduates. So do they feel that they're adding value, not in their profession and within their teams? And do they feel that others feel that they are adding value? So whether it be in their profession or whether it be members of other professions that they work with on teams. So we're starting to kind of move into that space. When you talked of professional value, that's what I started thinking about, was this meta perception comment, you know, and I'm sure with this, it's a pretty common term in the IO psych literature. I think that, you know, we're looking at kind of the outcomes we're looking for people to have is not only the confidence and the skills of behaviors of collaboration, but also that sense that they bring value to teams and that others perceive them as bringing value. So that's kind of it aligned with some of the things we've been talking about here at St. Louis University.
Thank you, Tony. Any other immediate comments from anyone?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Very well.
It just came to my mind about, you know, the 4 Ps from both the frameworks. And what came to my mind, is it possible to have like a matching the 4 Ps from the 2 models, so that we can use let's say the framework which can be applied to different, like the purpose is related to the professional value, the professional commitment, and let's say the picture is also from that perspective also. So I'm just, you know, I'm sharing this sort of, you know, idea and to look at, you know, to match everything together so that becomes like a holistic approach rather than just theoretical. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to let Atle, because you probably know what I will say, since I felt that I quite like the idea of the other FOP, but I'd like to hear from other colleagues and Atle as well, what you think about it.
Well, I kind of liked the idea of this holistic model that you propose, Omar, wasn't it? Yes, I think so. And before the lecture or before this presentation today, I was thinking about that myself. I was thinking about what can this theoretical framework actually give us in the educational system. And I was thinking for myself, then I started to think maybe I should ask somebody else. So why not ask artificial intelligence about this? People have probably said something about it before. So it gave me 4 points that I can share with you. And first, it said that the theoretical framework helps educators to identify and articulate the key principles, ideas, and concepts that should be taught to students in a particular field of study. So that's 1 point. The second point was that the theoretical framework provides a foundation for teaching and learning that is based on established knowledge and research. And I think that's a strength with the project that we have done based on the empirical findings. Third, a theoretical framework can help to identify commonalities and connections between different academic disciplines, promoting interdisciplinary or interprofessional collaboration and innovation. I think that's a good point too. And fourth and final, a theoretical framework can provide the basis for research and innovation in a particular field. It can guide the development of research questions and methods, and can help to ensure that research findings are meaningful, relevant, and useful. So that was a long comment, but maybe, hopefully, meaningful.
I just want, you know, to add to that is that someone who comes from the Arab world and everything, you know, we are sort of very emotional and everything like that, or, you know, we are driven by emotions and everything. So my feeling is that this is very, very dry framework. Educationally, probably it's very, very good, but we are dealing with people as faculty, as students, and the profession itself is dealing with human beings. So probably the algorithms and these frameworks, we need to add, let's say, value, let's say the humane aspect of it. And that's why I'm just sharing that my experience with the with the teaching and the community and so on and so forth. Thanks.
I think that is such a good point, and I feel this is also one of the reasons why we wanted to reach out to different people in different places, because we have spent a lot of time on this. And when we created that first picture, you kind of sit and you look at it and you think, well, what's actually new here? Because we recognize all the words, and I suppose for me and for us in the team, I think it was just the confidence that it was words that was empirically underpinned. So it was just not taken from anywhere. But it is like you say, Omar, it's to bring now in that humane and the feeling into it and make it practical, so it doesn't just end up being something like many other frameworks that just lay there and you can't use it anyway because no one can get their head around how to apply it. So it is, like you say, to match it to something that we can remember, and also to bring in that humane aspect into each P, if you like, to make it useful in a meaningful way. And not too lengthy either, so that you can still get your head around it. Andrea?
I'm just thinking, because I'm like in the thick of this, like this is my life right now, is trying to figure out how to articulate what we have been doing and the values that undergird that into an environment that goes, yeah, right? I mean, the healthcare system agrees this is important and that the outcomes are better, and we are well beyond that. And so what I love about your model is I could envision almost a 2-3-dimensional application of it. So depending upon the audience, you fill out those 4 Ps differently. So if we're trying to express what we're doing to academicians, that's very different language, as Omar just pointed out beautifully, I think, than if we're expressing what we're doing to bring people in the community into the work that we're doing. Or in my case, the place that I've been living so much is really into the whole university and the medical center, so that they hear what we're saying. And that begins with listening to what they care about. And this just coming just directly from the Nexus Summit. A couple of you are there. Yesterday, it was just really struck me that we have been singing out of this songbook, the interprofessional community, for many years. So much so that maybe people don't hear us anymore, is what I've been thinking. But now I'm wondering if the secret sauce we need to add into this is we need to hear others more. What is the itch we can help them scratch? And so again, going back to your model, perhaps being flexible or forethinking enough to apply it depending upon the audience that we're talking with. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but there may not be one perfect way to articulate this, but you say the same, the messaging is, the bottom line is the same, but the way that we express it and develop it is with the folks that we are working with in that area. Does that make any sense at all? Somebody help me out, smarter than me.
That makes very much sense, Andrea, I think. Shelley, did you want to come in and comment on what Andrea just said?
Well, I just want to remind Andrea that she's very smart and not to worry about that. But I just want to build off of that, because our university is at a very similar place where we are working hard to integrate interprofessional pedagogy along with with topics that are common across the board, so that it is meaningful and it doesn't impose on faculty. But what I like specifically about the matching of the Bridges and Mitchell and your factors is, to me, the factors are the purpose is the why. And sometimes we lose track of the why, and especially on the leadership level. And that's where our big hiccup is. That's where our big barrier is getting the leadership to embrace. And I love, Omar, your discussion about emotion and passion and with this, to get them excited and passionate. And then the picture is individual organizations are different. And so what does your organization need? Because what the Ohio State looks like is going to be very different from the University of New England. We are small, but mighty. So really having the adaptability of that, the common plan is the what, so what are we going to do? And then finally, the participation is, what are the next steps? What are we going to do? And to explain it in that way to leadership, and then for leadership to be able to translate that to faculty who are equivocating, because they're being required to do so much in their curriculum, and they get dinged if they don't do it. And so we need that integration there. So I love the combination, Susanne, and I think it can move things forward because it explains things on multiple levels.
That's great, and it's helpful. And I think it's also helpful to get your reactions, though, because even if we are quite a large team in Norway and UK, we have worked together for a long time, which is a good thing. It's a strength, but it's also potentially a weakness, because in some ways, if we never open it up like we're doing here and now, you might not quite know. Actually, we do have someone in the call, and don't please be embarrassed now, but they were actually one of the participants in this study. And I don't know, Nikki, I'm going to put you on the spot now, if you want to say, because you haven't actually seen it when it was matched to the other 4 Ps, if you would like to share how you feel about that.
Hi, thank you both very much. It's really interesting to hear a little bit more about all your study. I think the 2 models, I can see how they fit nicely together. And, when you were talking about the purpose, I can see that actually the priority of the organizational commitment, once you get the organizational commitment, you get that commitment, then you are developing your purpose, what you're doing it for. So I can see, and so forth with the other 3, I can see how they marry up. I think, so yes, I think they do match, but I think it goes back to, as you know, Susanne, I've been sort of involved in IPL for many years, and it's exactly as you said at the beginning, in that organizations do often have trouble embedding it in curricula and keeping it there, and we've experienced that. And I do think it's actually getting all those involved to believe in it, and once they believe in it and they understand actually there is such a lot of benefit to, at the end of the day, the people we're looking after, because that's what it's all about, but equally benefit to all of the profession. So I still struggle with how we can get everyone on our side, so to speak, because I think that's the biggest challenge. But I think this will help a way forward, and I can see how both of those models, your model and the Bridges and Mitchell, can fit together. And hopefully, the more you develop it and share it, it will become able to be used. So I don't know if that helps. It's not really answering your question, it's giving you my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I wanted your thoughts, Nikki, because I appreciate you haven't seen this bit, but you were part, actually. If you remember with Atle's conversation, there was a group for the 2018 paper, and Nikki was part of that group. And to be honest, that was quite hard, both for Norwegians and me, to hear the skepticism. And I'm not talking about you, Nikki, but to see it there, you all work hard, and you think, how can we get people love it as much as, we all do here. And then Nikki was also part in the next sort of iteration when we went forward to the next study if we wanted to go back. But it is like she says, if you have a house that is not well founded, it will, you know, be impacted by floods and wind and so on. And it's the same with IPE. There can be one person coming and every effort for many years can go. So how do you get to that place to make it fully embedded? Because many leaders do need to, they have financial pressures perhaps, and they need to make choices. And many might say that, well, if our students become competent without it, why do we need it? Or, you know, timetabling is too full. And so how can we put more in? And I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about that.
I think your comment about the timetabling, Susanne, that whatever profession your curricula is, there's always the pressure on timetabling. There's always something from your professional body or your profession. Can we put this in? Can we put this in? So I think that IPL, it's not unique to us wanting to bring IPL. I think one of the, it is about selling it to everybody. And once, yes, if we get students to understand and appreciate and recognize the benefit they've had, then they will pass it on to coming students and hopefully those that are in practice already. But I really do believe that it's, yes, it's about you can meet all your professional outcomes without it, but with it, you are giving the people you look after, your patients, your clients, whatever you wish to call them, you are giving them a better experience if you work well together interprofessionally.
Thank you. Tony, oh, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of quick comments. So to build on what Nikki just said and what we've been talking about so far today, one of the things that we've been successful with is we've actually aligned our interprofessional education courses with the university core curriculum, 6 attributes of the university core. That's a great way of showing our health profession students that they're not just being trained as technicians. They really are. This aligns with their kind of not only identity as a health professional, but their identity as a person and a graduate of our institution. I think number one. Also, I think most IPE programs, unless you're really lucky, don't have a lot of full-time staff working. You really rely on adjuncts. You really rely on a lot of different individuals. And having a framework such as this is really important. That's one of my goals in my new position here, is to help everyone visualize this is where we're going, right? This is what we stand for. These are our pillars. This is what we, you know, these are our 4 Ps or whatever you want to use for it. And because you don't have everyone that's co-located and working together, they all have day jobs. They're all doing other things, and to be able to verbalize a framework like that and be able to kind of operationalize it is really important at bringing all those people along.
Thank you, Tony. Can I ask, there was a question on one of the slides. You all are here because you're interested in it or you know very much about it and much more than myself likely in many areas. But do you feel that this is offering something new, or do you feel that actually there is other empirically founded frameworks that actually either needs to be discussed in relation to this or is very similar to this, but we have somehow missed it?
Yeah, I think I want to start that, and then context is incredibly important. It's really hard to pick up. You know, I think everyone needs to develop their own framework. I think the conversation we're having today provides excellent example of how in your context you develop this framework of interprofessional education and professional collaboration. However, but everyone needs to really look at the culture of their institution, the types of resources they have available, the levels of learners, the level of expertise you have, and build and use others as a guide, but really engage in a process where you build your own framework. I think context is really, really important. So I'll quit talking. Sorry about that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we make clear that it is empirically underpinned, but the people that have been involved have primarily been from these three universities, either leaders or university teachers, apart from Atle's survey, which went beyond both in the UK, Norway, and actually also beyond the countries, because they were people that we could approach with help of our regional networks. Andrea?
I think it definitely adds value in a couple of ways, but the one that I'm very excited about, and I hope that as you share it, you continue to advance, is the local application. You know, you found a model that could do some sense making for the people that you needed to partner with, and then you applied that model to your local context or context, and that this is what you came up with. So the process to me is definitely very generalizable and important for you to share with other people.
Thank you, Andrea. Any other thoughts around that, with existing frameworks out there that either complements and needs to be discussed in comparison with the one presented here today? Shelley?
I'll just say that what I like about it is it's the framework for now. You know, that we're moving on. There are multiple frameworks out there. Obviously, none of them have worked completely effectively in many situations. And so I feel like it's today's framework. It's a little new, it's a little buzzy. And again, I agree with Tony, I agree with Andrea. Nikki has chimed in too. I think the local context is critical, and to write about that, to put that out there, to give people permission to make it their own is really important.
Thank you, Shelley. So I picked up, Omar, you were making a comment about the scrutiny, and I really want you to feel that you did have an opportunity to pick this apart, if you like, and maybe you have felt that you have been able to do that, but maybe you don't. And if you feel that you wanted to say something, but for whatever reason you couldn't, then Atle and myself would like you to contact us and vocalize or express some idea you might have, or something that you would like to add. Because the thing is, we have spent a lot of time on it, but I suppose in the end of the day, the main thing is for us to really try and make sense of it and use it. And like said already, for some of you here today, and the Norwegian colleagues I know, and for me certainly with Nikki here and Amy, I can see you are here as well as our Med IPE lead for medicine. We had a lot of IPE at UEA. We still have some, but we have had to start again. And one is to have the energy to do that. And the second is hopefully to have this framework to build on. But you can't help but just sit there and look at it and you think, so what? And what will, you know, people who might not be so passionate about IPE, that we will now go to, Nikki and myself and Amy and others, to our executive team and say we will want to use that now. And Tony, what you said earlier about the core curricula for a university, you see, we don't have that where we are. And that's quite interesting. We have values for the universities, but we don't have a core curricula.
Yeah, we were in a very unique, that's part of it might be a United States kind of norm, because it's required by some of our external accreditors. But the one unique thing about St. Louis University is we're a 200-year-old university, but we had an IPE program before we had a core curriculum at our university. So, and our nursing faculty were pulling their hair out saying, we want to do IPE, but we have to do the core. And we were able to find alignment between our courses, and it's really worked out really, really well. It's actually made us better it's made our courses better because we think differently about our alignment with the bigger picture. And I think that has really been helpful for us. And it's really, and it also creates value for these programs and these administrators, and like, hey, we're a vehicle to deliver the core into a very unique population, and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and I wonder, I don't know what other people think. Do you have something similar? If you're outside the States, does anyone else have a core curricula for your university? If that is where you are, you might not be in a university, of course.
Funny, this is the same as what used to be called the general education requirements, correct?
Yes.
So for those that are hearing your question, Susanne, like a core set of requirements at the university, that a framework for a core set of requirements, I think is the question.
Again, my question is that, you know, stakeholders in the Western countries are more powerful than in the Arab world because it's, you know, run by the government and so on and so forth. So my question is that, what is the impact of the community or the society when they listen or they hear about the interprofessional education versus the traditional, teaching and learning? And though you guys who've been working for more than 20 years in the interprofessional education, do you have, I mean, have you compare those who run, the interprofessional education had been used for these students versus those who did not? And what was the impact on their practice?
I think that's a very good question, Omar. Really good question. A very difficult research project to do, though. I don't know about other people, but when we set out at our university, we could do that because we decided to stagger the IPL. We were really early, it was 2002, and we staggered it. So some people didn't do it, some people did do it, and we compared their sort of success or perceived success with certain elements, and we could note a difference then. But as it developed, it got very difficult to disentangle what actually did what in terms of outcomes. And obviously we didn't, because we believed that it would make a better collaborative team or a better doctor or a better nurse or a midwife and so on. You couldn't not do it because we felt that that was ethically not the best thing to do. What does other people think? Is there any comments to Omar?
I don't know if this helps, and I'm sorry to talk so much, but I do think we need to, I think what you said, Susanne, is key. It's not optional. It is part of the care we have to deliver if we're going to deliver ethical care. Being able to bring the right team together around someone who has a serious illness is not an option. We have to be able to, we have to have that skill set. We have to be able to apply that knowledge.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Andrea, but I am still, I've been in this university for a very long time, and I don't know if people would agree, but I still, I'm quite bemused of how many people still don't think that the students need support in how they work together, but that because they can just wait until they get out in the real world and then they can have a go at it. And I think it's unfair to put them in that position, because I do think that we all need practice about everything that we are supposed to be doing for others and with each other.
And that's maybe where the States has a leg up on you, because when somebody says that to me, I just point at the current healthcare system. And I say, if it was just going to happen when we got out into practice, it would have happened. And it isn't happening. It hasn't happened. Being in proximity, working in the same healthcare organizations doesn't make us able to integrate care and deliver person-centered care. It doesn't. It hasn't yet, I would say. Others might disagree.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that, Andrea. So we are coming to the end. I'm just wanting to share my slide one more time because there are people on the call. Synnøve and Frøydis are here from Norway. Atle and I, we have spoken today, but we want to thank people, thank you here, Frøydis and Synnøve, for all your work with the studies and this framework. But also there are a few names that I just wanted to make sure that we don't lose before we end today. So if that's okay, see if I can get the names up. So as you can see here, there are quite a few names here. So Frøydis and Synnøve is here today. Elisabeth and Hans Petter and Stephanie and John and Venture and Petter is not here today, but they were instrumental in this study as well. So we just want to make sure that you know that there has been a lot of people involved. And of course, people like Nikki and other people that were part of this as study participants were crucial, because without everyone that has contributed to the framework, we wouldn't have been able to do it. And just finally to say thank you for all of you today, but here is our emails. We really welcome for your comments or further discussion, even over another Zoom call or chat if you want to, because we are in the process of writing this up and we will take your valuable comments that you've given us today to make sure that we try and incorporate that. And I really welcome your insights for today. And Atle, I'll hand over to you as well.
Thank you all for participating and listening to us. Very interesting to get the comments. Although I've been quite quiet for some time, I still thinking on all the comments, and especially I like the one about the emotions in this, because we are always looking at the categories and we can use that as reflective instruments or models in our work. But in practice, we are also in process. So the process dimension in this interprofessional education should also be highlighted, I think, and that gave me some thoughts that I'll try to bring further on. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I hand over to Andrea or Tony to say the last words. We have two facilitators here today.
Yeah.
You started, so you do it.
Yeah. No, I think thank you, Atle and Susanne, for an outstanding presentation. Also, give us the space to interact with each other. I think that was really, really beneficial, and we really appreciate this opportunity to spend some time utilizing each other's shared expertise and thinking differently maybe about how we think about our own context and develop our own frameworks in our own situations. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate all your work.
Thank you, Tony. And can I ask, this was recorded, am I right to say that? And the presentation
Yes, it will be
available?
It'll be posted on YouTube within about a week. And then we will also put that video on the website and share it out on social media. So it'll be available for not only, today, but also for however long YouTube stays in business. So it'll be.
That's great. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.